Hey everyone, it's your girl Sanj. Y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? Go on and hit that young subscribe button. Y'all, today I am going to be talking about how I paid off my student loans. And honestly, like even just saying that, it still doesn't feel real, but it's true, y'all. I finally paid off my student loans actually about 3 weeks ago, which was a huge victory for me. Student loans is something that, you know, whether you're a millennial or otherwise, I feel like we all have in common because y'all, these colleges, universities and whatnot, okay, the price tag is high, especially in today's day and age. So I'm gonna be talking about my journey, what I did, how I paid it off, how much I had, all that good stuff. And so without further ado, we can go ahead and get right into it. And so I'll start off by giving you some background about what I had, where I went, and what degree I got. So y'all, I got a Bachelor of Arts from Arizona State University in journalism and mass communications. It was an amazing experience, and I was able to come out of that with about $20,000 of debt. That to me, I've never had $20,000 in my bank account. So to some people that may be a lot, for some people that may be a little, but for me, I said, oh Lord, what we gonna do with this? Okay, especially because I got a Bachelor of Arts degree, I ended up starting out in an entry-level marketing job as my first job out of college. I did live with roommates, but let's just say that I didn't, have a whole lot of wiggle room. Okay, I kind of did, but not to like aggressively pay off debt. My first salary was like $30,000, which again, depending on where you are in the country and all that good stuff, that can sound like a lot or a little to you. I can tell you, living in Arizona, it was comfortable living with roommates, but it was also challenging. I couldn't pay more than the minimum payment. And so my minimum payment was about $200, and it was spread out over 10 years. And so early on, I was like, y'all, I'm not trying to be paying this for 30 years, or excuse me, not 30 years, for 10 years. So I knew early on that I wanted to pay it off pretty aggressively. I just didn't really know how because I didn't have the funds to pay more. And so I got my first raise, I'd say it was about a year or so after landing that first job. And so with that, I had a little bit more wiggle room, and I could pay like $300, so about $100 more above the minimum payment. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this for as long as I can. But then, y'all, I ended up moving into an apartment by myself. That was something that was really important to me in that season. I needed to be naked, I needed my space, and so low-key, a good portion of my income was going to rent. So all that to say, I was back in a situation where I couldn't pay much more than the minimum payment. So you may be wondering, okay, well, how did you pay off your student loans? This is what I did. So I kind of mentioned it before, but every chance I did have to pay more than the minimum payment, I did. So in that first season, I could pay about $100 more. Then, I wasn't able to pay much more, but I ended up switching jobs, was in a slightly different scenario, and I was able to go back to paying about $100 more. So at that point, I was on track to pay it off, I want to say in about 7 years, and so I was comfortable with that. Just paying anything extra that I got, for the most part, I would put there. So like a tax return document, or well, really that's the only extra money I was getting there. But fast forward to about 2 years after that, I started wanting to get really aggressive about paying off debt. And so I started picking up side hustles because I felt like I was kind of capped salary where I was work-wise. So y'all, I did DoorDash, I did freelance writing, which I still do, but I made it a point to get try to get some extra streams coming in. DoorDash didn't really work out too well, by the way. I did it for like 2 days. But anyway, the freelance writing was something that I would do on the side to kind of put some more money towards debt. Then I met my sweet husband. Shout out to the hubs. And when we got married, it was kind of a new situation where it's like, okay, we have 2 incomes now. What do we want to do with this? And if you haven't seen my video, the one about how I became a homeowner, that's also relevant because that was right before we got engaged, but kind of like similar time period where we were involved, but I was still doing things on my own in terms of financial decisions and whatnot. But when we got married, we decided to go full force and knock out debt. He actually didn't have any student loan debt because he had worked throughout college and lived at home, so was able to pay it off while he was in college. So it was really just my 20 grand that we were bringing to the table. And what we did, y'all, is we started living off of 1 income. And most times it was 1 income, sometimes it was a little bit more, but essentially like we were both working, but we pretended like one of us wasn't working financially. So we budgeted based on one person's income because that was enough to pay the bills and kind of, be comfortable. And then the other person's income went towards savings and debt. So that's really what accelerated the debt payoff process. And I know that's something that, if you're not in a dual income situation, it can feel out of reach, but I just want to tell you, it's not. It really all comes to living below your means. And whatever that looks like for you in whatever season, I really think it's just about doing what you can do. So yeah, we did that still kind of are doing it, to be honest. And it's been really humbling and really beautiful because I feel like a lot of times you feel like, you feel like you don't really have money like that. But the truth is, like, we have an amount of money, whatever it is, and we get to choose what to do with it. So especially in 2020, like, everybody was at home for the most part. Not everybody, shout out to the frontline workers, but for people who were able to be home, it essentially was a year of not a whole lot going on, at least for me, in terms of travel, going out, like things that we would spend money on. So that year really allowed us to live off of 1 income, put a lot towards debt without feeling the sting of it so much because we couldn't really go nowhere anyway. So yes, that is the situation, y'all. It took 4 years total, in case you're wondering. 4 years, and 2.5 of those years, 2.5 of those years were me single, and then the last 1.5 year has been being in the dual income situation. But I would say, y'all, like, 1, it is possible. Student loans feel like something that's just going to be hanging over your head forever, but they don't have to be. And regardless of where you are financially, it's possible to chip away at that debt. And so a couple tips that I would give that I feel like are universal, these were given to me and they really helped, is 1, do what you can. When you can pay extra, pay extra. When you get extra, from tax refunds or gifts, whatever it is, random checks that come in the mail, if you get those, just go on ahead and put that towards your debt. Another thing that I would say is put together a plan. It's hard to know what your income is gonna look like, right, from year to year, but wherever you are now, you can start with that and see, okay, what can I cut back on? Can I only do one video streaming service instead of having Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime? Can I just do one and put that remaining, that might be $40, $50, $60 right now, to increase my payment? Just look for areas that you can cut back a little bit to then put that towards your debt instead. And something that was game changing for me, sorry y'all, the dogs is knocking over this camera, is somebody told me there's really only a couple of things that you want to spend money on, and that's different from person to person. For me, it's eating out. I don't really need to go shopping on the regular. I don't really, need to buy makeup on the regular. Like, I'm not a huge spender, but I do love eating out. Also, I've started getting my nails done recently. Well, the beginning of 2021. I say all that to say, like, those are my two things. So you can pick one or two things that it's like, all right, I want to do these things. And everything else, if you don't have it, you won't feel the sting as much. So as if I'm getting my nails done and able to go out to eat with a friend, say once a week or once every 2 weeks, or with Adam, I'm cool, right? And so that means that I can cut the streaming services. I can cut some of these different areas of expenses because they're nice to haves, but they're not need to haves. So knowing the difference between your nice to haves and your need to haves will allow you to figure out what you can cut and still feel cool, like still feel like you're living normally and comfortably, whatever that looks like for you. And yeah, lastly, I would just say it does take sacrifice, but everything good takes sacrifice, like literally. So it's a short-term sacrifice, and depending on how much you have to tackle, I'm not somebody who says like eat beans and rice for years to knock it out, right? Like, I think that we should enjoy our way to the destination, and we don't have to like be so extreme that there's no room to breathe and really look around and enjoy life. With that though, I would say, y'all, I forget what I was talking about. But anyway, put together a plan so that the way you tackle it works for you and is comfortable for you. Maybe there's a 6-month period where you're super aggressive with it, and then you loosen up kind of for the last 6 months of the year, and then you get more aggressive again. There's no right or wrong way. The only wrong way is to just not do anything about it, because y'all, that interest will compound, okay? And if you're worried about having the funds to be able to do it, pray about it, y'all. Like, God has a habit of just kind of like helping you see things differently and helping you see what you do have and what you can work with, okay? Because I can guarantee you got something to work with, even if it's a skill that you don't necessarily know that you have that could be really beneficial to someone else, and they might be willing to pay you for it, and you could start a side hustle, like we out here, y'all. We gonna be, the lenders and not the borrowers, and there's nothing wrong with borrowing and borrowing responsibly. But I just wanted to let y'all know, we out here, we student loan debt free. It is possible. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to drop them down in the comments. Y'all, I'm so here for people getting free and taking steps to take control of their financial situation, because ain't nobody got time, y'all, to have unnecessary stress around finances. Some of it is just gonna come, but I believe that that we can live above that too. So thanks so much for watching. If you hear scurrying in the background, y'all, that's these dogs. And I will see you on the next video.